Yo, I'm working on a bunch of stuff today, so I thought I would just live stream some of what I'm working on. And I'm on a solo stream today. Just me and GitHub. Me and the Gits. All the Gits and the hubs. All right. Let me see if I can do that. Nope. Hello there. Kavatov? I'm trying to think how to say that. What's up? And Tutorials is here. What's up? Joined and locked in. AB Dubs. Looks like AB Dubs is here. And yeah, I've been working on 3 or 4 different GitHub projects the last couple of days, all at the same time. So, you know, a little insanity. But AI's got my back. All right, let me figure out what's going on here. Why is my screen not wanting to share? Let's shrink that down. Let's shrink that down. Hello, hello. Welcome, Tyrash. Sorry if I mispronouncing names. What's up? All right. Let's fix this. No, that's small camera. I want this one. Please hold. I should have done this. Oh, it's because it's Zen. It thinks I'm using the Zen browser. I'm not using Zen. What I really want, I thought I had this set up correctly. I don't have this the way I want it. Oh well, we'll just go back to the old school. We'll do this. And then that. Man, I'm rusty. You think I hadn't done this 350 times? What tool am I using for streaming? The streaming product is Ecamm Live. I've been using that since 2019. Before that, I used Wire. What's it called? Wire Stream, Wire something. And then before that was OBS. But Ecamm Live has been awesome. It has been the most rock solid, steady. It's Mac only and it's not free, but it is, I think, light years ahead of OBS in terms of UX and usability. And when I started using, I mean, OBS has gotten a lot better, but back when I started with Ecamm, I think 2019 or so, maybe 2020, OBS was very taxing on old Intel Macs. It basically ate up my CPUs. I had the fans running 100%. So I went to Ecamm Live, and Ecamm Live is kind of like what if Apple made a streaming product. It's very streamlined. It's very clean. The UI and the UX is very well thought out, and they do the same things, but they don't function in any way the same. So all I know is it used to take me an hour to prep for a stream, and since I started using Ecamm like 6 years ago, I need like 10 minutes. Clearly, I needed more today because I'm futzing around with things. But what I want here is I just don't see where I can find Mark plus camera. Is that the one I want? Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. All right. Where was I? What was I working on? Well, okay. So if you're new to my stream, I stream every Thursday and have been since like 2018. Not every Thursday nowadays. I think the last 6 months I've only hit like 50% of the last 6 months. But I was pretty regular before that. The last 6 months have been crazy. We've had lots of projects. I had big things going on at KubeCon in November, so I had a month of like heads down work. I'm in the middle of creating courses. In case you didn't know that, I should probably go through all of my spiel. Over here, let's see. All right, so I have podcasts, I have courses, I have all these things. So if you didn't know, you can sign up for the newsletter at bret.news. All the links are below in the description. But this is my 7-year running basically DevOps podcast. We're working on 3 new episodes now. My editors, Christy. Hey, what's up, Christy? He's working on that. We've got an agentic DevOps podcast that launched last year, so it's focused on AI, specifically around your CI and your automation, and like how do we take deterministic things and add a crazy texting robot and still make it reliable. So that's what that podcast is all about. We've got, I don't have any episodes coming. That it's been a couple of months at least since the last episode. But that is coming. And then let's see what else. Courses, if you go to bret.news, you can sign up on the newsletter. And that newsletter is once or twice a month, and it's just what I'm working on, just what I'm creating. So if you didn't know what I'm doing, I am your container and DevOps automation guy. And I make courses, and I talk at conferences, and I have a Discord community that's, I think, somewhere around 25,000. So we talk all about DevOps. So you can go to bretfisher.com and jump on the Discord server. I think a couple of you are already from there. And we just launched a new website. Well, it's just like the old website, but it gives us a lot more capabilities now. So we're going to be able to launch courses on this thing instead of hosting them on Udemy, where I was previously hosting them. So the next one coming up is a couple of GitHub courses. I'm focusing on GitHub Actions. And the first one's going to be around a GitHub Pro. I'm just going to call it GitHub Actions Pro. And it's for people that are both new to Actions and people that are wanting to get more advanced and sort of level up their Actions game. And then there's debate about what the second course is going to be, but it's probably going to be an AI in your CI course, or it's going to be something really small that solves a very specific problem, like maybe how to do the best container builds with all the caching and all the speed and all of the parallelism that we need in CI for building images and building them quickly. And there's a lot to it, actually, if you really get into the nerdy details. So that might be the second course. I'm not really sure yet. But if you're curious, you can just go to my website and jump on the wait list. So you can sign up for the newsletter, and you can sign up for the wait list on the new courses there. You'll get a coupon, a discount coupon when the courses come out. We are making an announcement. You heard it here first. We're making an announcement in I think the next 2 weeks. Quite possibly we'll start to let people in on the first course. Maybe not exactly the next 2 weeks, but we've got enough videos now that I feel like we can start letting people in here pretty soon. We're in the middle of editing a bunch of stuff and creating all of the additional content you need with a high-end course that I make. Like you need quizzes, you need Q&A, you need take-home assignments, you need homework. So those are all things that are in the works right now. And I am here for you. So this is like a Q&A hour. I work on things all the time on these streams. If I don't have guests, which half the time I have guests, and so we just talk about whatever they're wanting to talk about. Usually some new tool or a new DevOps product. I've got my co-host Normal that shows up. He's unfortunately busy this week, so I'm on my own working on some videos that I was designing and researching around GitHub Action's new agentic workflows, is what they're calling it. And yeah, so we're going to work on that if I have no questions to answer. So feel free to jump in with questions, anything containers, anything AI, DevOps, and all that stuff is fair game. So ABW from Discord. Yeah, tutorial insights. All right, so I am doing some things for the first time, actually, including trying to get Copilot inside of a pull request that will fix the checks. This is like my goal for today. How fast can I get Copilot with an agentic workflow to trigger whenever a PR series of workflows fail a check? You know what checks are, right? Those are the little status checks at the bottom of a GitHub pull request. And if those go red, like they are currently for me with linting, I really just want the AI to provide me a PR to fix that. Like I don't want to have to manually fix my own lints anymore. And some of the linters out there will auto fix. They will, if it's formatting, especially, they'll just fix the formatting, and then they'll have to make a commit. But I maybe don't want it to do that automatically for me. If you've ever done automatic CI commits in the PR you're working on, it can be a little problematic. If you're local and you have a clone and you're working on that, and then you push so that CI can run and do its thing, and then CI goes and makes some commits, then when you try to push again, you're going to get a merge conflict. So that kind of sucks, and I would rather manually approve some commits rather than just have to keep track of whether it made commits before I made my commit, and then which one do we need to mess with. So I don't tend to like auto commits inside of my active pull request that I'm currently developing. That's just me. So I kind of wanted to see if I could get my PR to have PRs that are created by AI to fix the things in my PRs that, and then I'm already imagining there's a couple of scenarios where that's not going to work out well. Like that, it's, if I don't accept the PRs and then it runs again and again, it's going to keep creating more and more PRs. So it'll be fun. I think it's all possible. I have done some AI stuff automatically before, but I think it's all been like Claude Code and third-party tools. I mean, obviously there's CodeRabbit and other third-party tools that help you, but I'm really focused on with these courses on the built-in GitHub stuff first. So I want to maximize my usage of my existing GitHub subscription and my existing GitHub Copilot subscription. And Copilot can let me use whatever models I want. I mean, Copilot is kind of like what's the AI router? Open Router. If you've ever used that, where it lets you use different AI models with a single subscription, GitHub is like that now. GitHub has all of the major AI models, and you can have one Copilot subscription in your inside. You get stuff for free with your GitHub subscription. In fact, if you don't even have a GitHub subscription, you get still free model access for a very tiny amount. And like Open Router and the other ones, like as you go more into the premier models, it uses more tokens, so then they charge you more premium requests. And so I'm not going to get into all that pricing stuff, but if you didn't know, go check all that out. It's actually really slick, and I've been using it on my own with, I switched off of Claude Code recently to Open Code. Let's see if I can get the right button here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. No, I'm going to just take, so ask away on your questions. I need to fiddle with my Stream Deck because I have the Stream Deck I have the Stream Deck. I don't know why I'm showing stuff off today, but you asked what I was using for software, so my assumption is that you're slightly interested in what this setup is. But nope, that's not the right button. But for many years now, I've had Stream Decks. I actually have two. I have a small one that I travel with because I do this show on the road, and then I have this big one, and they're fantastic. And they've only gotten better over time. And today, I'm realizing that my solo stream setup is not what I want. And I don't casual stream. That is not Arc. Now we're talking. I think I need to modify this setup so I'm not covering up my browser so much. But I'll work on that later. Arc plus camera. Let's try that. There we go. All right, and then this one. It seems to have forgotten my browser. The new Copilot 2e or something else. I have used Soonfred. That's what I'm going to call you. I have used a lot of them. I like my favorite thing of Copilot. If you stick to Copilot, my favorite thing with Copilot and VS Code, Copilot 2e, Copilot in the browser, is that it remembers all of the chats, and you can go back and forth. So, like in VS Code, you know how that panel where it's like local chats, 2e chats, web chats, which are essentially like PRs. It uses Copilot agent inside of GitHub.com, and I like being able to pick up where I left off. And sometimes I like to be in a GUI, and sometimes I like to be in terminal. So I'm still not, because these tools have been changing so rapidly over the last year. I have not settled on my favorite everythings that this is the only way I work. I mean, when I'm vibe coding something, I'm in the 2e, right? But lately I've been using open code and really enjoying that. I think it feels like it's better than Copilot, honestly. And it feels, at least according to some other experts on the internet, it seems less buggy than Claude Code. So I'm giving a thumbs up for open code, but I've only got a week of work in it. So I gotta fix this screen here real quick. Okay, you're gonna misbehave. I'm gonna have to bring you over here. Now we're talking. I'm gonna change that. Sorry, I was late in getting started on the stream, and I figured I would just start the stream and YOLO it. I usually do all this stuff before the stream starts. All right, I like that setup. And then over here, I've been trying to use Zen browser to get off my addiction to Arc browser, but Arc is just so good. It's still got bugs that I've had to deal with, but it's just so good. Let's do that. Yeah. All right. Now we're in business. Payam, what's up? Martin, what's up? Oh, the regulars are here. Martin, I'm wondering if you're a bot sometimes because you literally type hi from the Netherlands every time, which I love. I appreciate that. And everyone doesn't know where you're from. And I haven't been in the Netherlands yet, but I'm going to fix that before life is over. Definitely want to visit. I've been to Finland. I'm been to Amsterdam. Those are not, like the stream is happening in my office in Virginia Beach. And that is good. You don't see other people's chat. That is true because I'm dual streaming to YouTube and to X, and X doesn't bring in. There's no way for me, at least with the software I use, to have chats repeated. So go check me out on YouTube if you want to be in the more chatty group. But welcome to the stream, or not. When people ask questions, I will try to be better at putting them on screen. Um, I don't know what a twin scan machine is from ASML. What is this thing? What is this thing we are talking about? All right. So we're gonna jump back from. Okay. So yeah. So we have Discord. We have all the things. Launched a new website. That was something that we accomplished last week. The new website looks very similar to the old website because I just copied the theme. I didn't feel like I needed a whole new theme. But we've got the new courses listed in the wait list. And for those of you just joining, the GitHub courses are humming along, and you should see something announced in the next 2 weeks, approximately. And the way you can find out about that, go to bretfisher.com and click on get on the wait list. And then you'll get a coupon when they launch. I'm going to be self-hosting these courses for the first time. Usually they're on Udemy. We may eventually put them on Udemy, but we're going to try to keep the prices the same so that they're fair. So that way I don't have to compete with myself depending on the platform. There's plenty of people that their companies have Udemy subscriptions, and that's called Udemy Business. And I would love for them to have access to it through their companies. So we're going to try to figure out if that's possible. And I believe that is. We're just going to have to, it's going to be a lot of work to duplicate everything. And so they will come after we launch them on our own website. So anyway, yeah. Oh, and by the way, if your company is looking for training or agentic help and CI or just CI help, my whole year is going to be focused on CI. Like Docker and Kubernetes, I have been focused on that, training people on that, workshops, making courses. I've made over 500 videos on Docker and Kubernetes. Probably, actually, if you include the YouTube stuff, it's probably over 1,000 videos at this point on Docker and Kubernetes. And dozens of workshops and talks at conferences and all that. Just realizing that my screens are really bright. So my glasses are reflecting. So anyway, now I'm all about GitHub Actions. Like I'm not just GitHub Actions. There are other things I'm watching in the industry, other AI tools that have a potential to be game changers that I'm very excited about. One's called Mindrel from some friends of mine, and one is Dagger. So from Solomon Hikes and gang. And then there's a story that Dagger, the founders decided that they were working on two separate things that they really wanted to focus on. So now we have another company called Mindrel. And I'm just going to bring these up because you will see, my goal is you will see both of these products on the show at least the first half of this year, if not in this quarter. So Dagger, if you had not heard of them, Solomon Hykes, the inventor, well, one of the co-founders of Docker, or basically the CEO of Docker for the first 6 years, 7 years. This is his new thing that he's been working on for another 6 or 7 years. and he's been working on that with some of the team that he worked with at Docker that co-founded Dagger with him. And they have been doing lots of stuff, especially in the last year with AI and whatnot, but they're back to focusing on CI. They did like 6 months of focusing on agents and AI stuff, and that's still there, but I think they're going back into their roots of CI focused stuff. And I'm excited for that because we need more help in CI. I love GitHub Actions, but it needs a lot of work. I teach GitHub Actions, but it's far from perfect. And I'm hoping that Dagger can make it more perfect, like less frustrating. And then there's another company that is basically an offshoot of Dagger that has just gone through Y Combinator, and it's Mindrel. Sam and the gang are building this, and I don't know how big their team is, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty small right now. And they're doing some cool stuff around agents that stare at your CI and your automation, particularly GitHub Actions. Like that's the thing they're focused on. And staring at your GitHub Actions and basically acting like an engineer on your behalf and looking for problems in the failed runs, looking for things that need to have more work done on them, creating PRs, watching all the security stuff. It does a lot of stuff that I just implemented it in the last week, actually, and I haven't had a lot of time with it. So all I know is it's bugging the crap out of me because I told it to tell me about everything. So it's doing a lot of work and waiting for me to approve work, and it feels like it's like a junior engineer I hired to improve my CI, and it's just doing all sorts of things and finding things and letting me know about things. But I set it up so that it needs approval, and it's waiting on my approval because I haven't gotten back to it. So this is an exciting idea, and I'm anxious to spend more time on it and kind of see where they're going with it, because CI, the problems I have with CI is that when I go to a company, of which I've worked with more than a few companies in the last decade on improving their CI, and one of the biggest challenges I have, and let me know in chat if you have these challenges too, is the more I automate, the more maintenance I create, right? So if I want to implement universal linting with SuperLinter, which is my go-to for all the linters, it's one giant bundle of linters. And that's a GitHub project run by GitHub. And SuperLinter, it's great, but it's going to create a lot of work for you because, especially if you're not greenfield, especially if you're throwing it into existing repos that weren't being linted before, it's going to find all sorts of issues and problems, and then someone has to fix them and create PRs to fix all that. And then the linters will then start complaining over time, or things will need fixing or worked on, and suddenly you find that you created a bunch of work for yourself just because you built a bunch of automation in CI. And the challenge is to keep everything healthy. Like, people ignore tests. We've all had flaky tests. We've all had tests that people tend to ignore because they're on the backlog to get fixed, but you got to ship, so you can't wait. You got to figure out how to just ignore the checks that are failing and accept the PR the way it is. And all that stuff sucks. And it's the toil. It's the toil of keeping these things healthy and working. And the more you automate, the more that your job becomes this maintenance and toil nightmare. And I don't care whether it's Jenkins or GitHub Actions or Circle CI or what you're using. They're all susceptible to this problem. So you've really got to be proactive and keep on top of it. Well, I'm hoping that the team at Mindrel solves that. That's my you've heard it here first. Like, this is inside baseball. I'm talking with them and hoping that this gets to a place, and maybe it's already there. I haven't actually spent enough time with it to have an opinion yet. So it's exciting. They are accepting onboarding of new clients, but they're a very young startup, but they're working with some big names in the cloud native and leading edge tech business, other startups and other hot little companies like PostHog and AnyShift. AnyShift is an SRE agent AI, and PostHog, I think they're pretty popular. I don't actually use them, but they do lots of cool software stuff. And yeah, so I'm excited to have them on the show. Hopefully they haven't asked them yet to be on the show, but I'm planning to have them. Solomon Hikes is hopefully going to be back on the show in a little bit, maybe a couple of weeks. We'll see. And so and this is all, I'm talking about the Agentics DevOps podcast. So if you didn't know about that, let me tell you. Let me give you a link. If you haven't taken a listen and you're curious about the non-hype approach to how do we automate things with AI and not end up in failure and misery. And that's really what this podcast is about. And we did 6 episodes over last summer. Not a lot has changed since then in terms of where DevOps and automation is at when it comes to robots. But I can see that we're starting to get a little light at the end of the tunnel. And the reason that that's happening is I'm seeing GitHub come out with some things that are ideas on how we're all going to be maintaining our existing pipelines and workflows. We're going to be calling those deterministic workflows. I'm pretty sure that that's going to be the name we're going to center around, as it means that you don't have AI in your pipeline or your workflow, whatever term you want to use. You don't have any AI in there yet. So we call that deterministic because it's predictable and it happens the same way as many times as you run it. The minute you throw a prompt in there and you're injecting an LLM somewhere in that workflow, that's now non-deterministic, or we just going to maybe call that agentic. And so we're all going to end up with some things that are 100% old school, deterministic. I don't know that I need an AI to build my Docker container because I know how that works and I know how to do it well. So I've got that workflow and it's very deterministic and I got all the right tools. And if it fails, I would like an AI to help me, but I don't need an AI to type out the Docker build command every time. Like that's a recipe for failure. So we're going to end up with some that are deterministic. I think we're going to end up with some workflows that are partially deterministic and partially agentic. And then we're going to maybe end up with some that you didn't write a workflow at all. You simply prompt, and that the prompt is actually going to create the workflow for you, and then run it. Martin is new project of Elon Musk. Not sure. I'm sorry. I'm catching up on chat. 77 degrees in Florida. Please send some of that up here to Virginia. We are about to get an ice and snowstorm that possibly will break records in Virginia. So YouTube chat is better. Good to be here. Oh, okay. What's up? Glad you're here. Yes. The more you automate, the more you DevOps guys become the bottleneck. And this is real. Like, I am the problem. Now, before I was purely focused on DevOps and more of the modern terms we all have, like platform engineering, before all of that, I was just called an IT pro. If we were on the Linux side, we were called sysadmins. If you were on the Windows side, you were called an IT pro. And in those worlds, I heard this term many, many years ago from the .NET Rocks podcast or the Run As podcast. I can't remember. Carl and someone's going to remember this in chat. The two guys, the legends at Microsoft. They don't actually work at Microsoft, but they work on Microsoft products. They coined the term the IT cartel, and I completely agree with that. We were in the habit of saying no because DevOps wasn't really a thing yet. And I loved to say yes, but a lot of times I was obligated to say no, and we get in the way. So then DevOps comes around, and then we just saddle instead of working together, DevOps somehow got turned into let's just give the developers all of the work. And I don't know why that happened. It was not the intent of DevOps, but that's what happened, I feel like, to a lot of teams. And maybe it's because we made things a little bit easier, because we created tools like Terraform, and we created tools like Kubernetes and Docker, and we didn't have those, right? But even before Chef and Puppet, I was doing the work, and there was no automation. So, I think no matter how much we keep pushing this, developers always want to go faster. Like whether it's if you're committing and pushing to release once a month, then you go to once a week, then you go to once a day, then you go to 20 times a day. Like the pace is always quickening. And the pipeline, since the software lifecycle starts, it doesn't really start with code, but the thing that I care about starts with code. Like there's steps in the SDLC before that. But code is where the commit is where I care. I do work with developers pre-commit, but I care more when the commit is pushed. That's where I really play my games. And the challenge there is, can I keep up with you? And that is a actually hard thing to do long term. It's easy at first, but the more things get complicated, and it's not entirely my fault. Sometimes it's the developer's fault because they make it very hard to do things in CI. And so a lot of times when I'm working with teams, we're collaborating. The best teams that you work with, the developers or the build engineers or the automation engineers are collaborating with the developers. And a lot of times my conversation will say something like, I sure would like it if you would simplify the design of this application so that I didn't have to create a 300-line Docker file in order to build it properly. I'm going to pick on Rails for a second, but like a Ruby on Rails app where I need apt dependencies, Rails dependencies, or Ruby gems, and then I need npm in there because it's got some front end stuff, so I've got to do some npm stuff. So now I've got 3 different package managers in the same Docker image. It's 2 gig in size. It's a monolith, and it's like hard coding database connections and doing all sorts of legacy stuff. Now, someone might just say, well, that's all the developer's fault. That's a bad developer or something. But I run into this stuff all the time. It happens all the time. Like a lot of projects are like that, where it's legacy, it's old. Like you don't fix the things that aren't broken, so you're always focused on the things that are broken. And so a lot of times in CI, we're just like we're just trying to manage the complexity, and a lot of times we're given a giant ball of complexity that doesn't have to be that way. That's why I like developing in Go, because my Docker files are like 20 lines. It's super easy, and it produces 1 file at the end. It doesn't produce 200,000 files, which is if you use like an Ubuntu container with a big monolith Node app or a Ruby app, it's going to be 200,000 files in that repo. Not all of it's source code, but like the Ubuntu or Debian distribution underneath has 200,000 files. If you do a Slim, you might get it down to 150,000 files. Like it's a lot of stuff. So I manage a lot of that I wish would all go away. I wish I could just build a Rust app or a Go app or if it was something simple like a C++ app that I didn't have any dependencies that I had to manage at the OS layer. Basically, at the end of the day, my thing that I really care about from a developer is don't use OS dependencies. Please do not use an OS dependency package manager. They're hard to manage. All of them, all the old ones, the apps and the yums, they're all, in my mind, they're legacy. They don't pen well. They don't. They just don't work well in containers. So I'm always trying to get developers to just pick one package manager, ideally, maybe 2, and focus on simplifying so that my CI can be awesome for them and not have to pull in database configuration settings from an S3 bucket and then pull this other repo in because it's also needed for the build, but then I got to throw it away. Like there's just managing complexity is a team effort. So I feel like sometimes DevOps is blamed, but we're just trying to make the thing simpler that you gave us that was way too complicated. I'm now off my soapbox. We're back to it. Let's get back to the job at hand. Brendan is here to hear me rant. Rena's Radio with Richard. We were just talking about this 2 days ago, and I'd already forgotten Richard Campbell's name. Shame. You're already finished with the romance with AI. Every day I hate it more and more. Well, that's the problem, right? Is it's like it's here and it's not going away, and it's something that, like a lot of our tools, if you think about it, like Terraform, when it was young, we were all like, man, this looks cool. When Docker was young, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And then after a decade with any of these tools, you just grow to hate it because of all the limitations and frustrations, because typically like a particular tool gets to sort of a peak of its design, and then it can't really iterate beyond that without backwards compatibility issues. And like the Docker file, right? The Docker file is a 12, 13-year-old concept. It's far from perfect, and as they tried to make it more flexible, it just got more complicated and weird. and doesn't look like a shell script anymore, especially when you're using the dash options and some of the commands like the copy or the add or yeah. So it's all a big pile of mess. It's just a big pile of crap. So we get new tools, and people are excited about Nix right now, but eventually people will grow to hate Nix, and we will think up something else for package management. But until then, are there ways to speed up the inner loop when developing GitHub workflows? Edit, push, run is kind of slow. Maybe this is in your upcoming course. Yeah, there's lots of different ways to do it. It's a good. I'm actually going to write down that note. Have a lecture on managing. It's one of those things where it's mentioned in a lot of my videos because of various aspects, but you're saying edit, push, run. Yeah, the inner loop. So obviously we have act, right? People talk about act, pros and cons. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect. But other people, I mean, there's actually right now there's a GitHub action thread on Hacker News. Did I get rid of that? I don't think if I have that somewhere. I think I just got rid of it. But there's a thread this last week, I think it was 7 days ago, called something like "I hate CI. I hate GitHub Action CI," and it's someone just ranting. And they don't even have good arguments. They're just whining. But there's 1,000 comments in the Hacker News thread that that you there is really nothing perfect. And maybe the biggest problem with GitHub Actions is that it got too big too fast, and now they've been working on scale problems for several years. I happen to know one of the engineering management VPs of engineering, I believe, and we had a conversation recently where we were just talking about that they've been working for years on the back end to just handle the scale, and so they're getting back into the dev quality of life issues. And so if you're watching the GitHub changelog, you can see that they're posting updates to things they're improving in GitHub Actions. But a wholesale local runner would be awesome rather than using act. The way that people in Hacker News talk about it is, oh yeah, you shouldn't use the actions. You should just make everything scripts. It's essentially like what Dagger suggests, like make everything some other tool that you call from a GitHub action step. The problem I have with that is that you completely lose the advantages of using the marketplace. Like you can't really use the marketplace at that point, which is like one of the best features of GitHub Actions. So I am not one of those that says, yeah, you use a make file and then put it in your action steps. The way I do it, I mean, obviously I do all my GitHub Actions in a PR. And like you said, you're pushing, you're committing, you're pushing, you're committing, you're pushing. I do, if I'm developing a new action, I might try to use act more before I push. I am not someone, I have never, honestly, I don't recall the last time I ever needed to shell into a runner to troubleshoot. I hear a lot of people talking about that, like wishing they could get in for debug and all that. I have just not found that was really necessary in my case. I'm not sure why other people are needing that, but I don't. I find that usually if you need to debug a runner, it's usually because you have a self-hosted runner and you're not doing proper cleanup and you're not managing things like permissions and cleanup well. And so it's going to have problems and weird errors and things. That's not necessarily all our fault. That's because the runner is not great. Like the self-hosted runner is actually not feature complete and is something that I was thinking a later course, an entire course on just how to manage your own runners, because it is quite complicated. And especially if you're going to keep a long running runner, like if you're not going to tear down your runners like like GitHub themselves do every time a job is finished, you're going to inherit some bad behaviors like permissions problems, things that are left on the server, caching issues, because it doesn't do cleanup, it doesn't do permissions, it doesn't do Docker and Docker, it doesn't run in Docker officially. Like there's just all these limitations to the runner design, and I don't really have solid advice. So I think my advice is generally, in my case, a lot of the actions I implement for repos are things that I'm reusing. So I will develop a working action on my own, and I will do that in my own repo or my own PR where I can just do that loop. And then I usually try to keep it simple. It's kind of like a Docker file where if you like comment out sections of Docker file to troubleshoot, or you maybe make different stages and you try to just isolate the problems you're using. So I will do that until I feel like I got a really solid action, and then I make it reusable, and then I put it across all my repos. So I tend to lean heavily on reusables, and I perfect it before I try to make it reusable, because the reusable itself is complicated, and often the inputs, especially when you're dealing with different data types in the inputs, that can be quite complicated. So if you went into some of my examples, you would see that I have lots of examples, but like I have a reusable, no, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Yeah, so I have like this reusable, this is a calling GitHub action that calls a reusable, but even it's 70 lines, and it's only using a few of the inputs. But if you go to look, if you go look at the reusable, this is just a Docker build. That's all this does. But this one, 237 lines of YAML. Well, it's a lot of comments, but if you just look at the inputs themselves, it's probably 100 lines of input code. So that itself like took me days to get right. So I don't touch anything with reusable until I get the workflow to work perfectly. So I don't know. I don't know if any of that helps, but that's a great question, honestly. I wish I had a better story, and I often think surely I can figure out, like, surely there's something in ACT that I don't quite understand for how I can get it to work in this scenario. But a lot of times with secrets that you need and other, I'm on a Mac, and ACT isn't great on a Mac. It complains about x86 versus Apple Silicon, and there's just, it's just not great. And I know they're working on a lot of things, but there's a lot they need to work on at GitHub Actions teams. So I am a little anxious about Dagger. I'm kind of excited to see if maybe Dagger can't solve some of these problems. The challenge I've had with Dagger is that, like, in order to use Dagger, you have to learn GitHub Actions, and you can't really just be dumb on GitHub Actions. You got to learn all of it, or whatever your CI is, and then you have to learn all the Dagger stuff. So it's really only a good tool for those that understand their CI pretty well and know the limits of their CI, because trying to convince someone, it would be the same thing if we use Nix. If we said, okay, everything in my GitHub action is going to be every step's just going to be a Nix command. Or some people say, oh, I'm going to run everything in my I'm going to run everything in Docker containers, so it's reproducible. I can run it locally. I can run it in any CI. I'm not locked into a CI. But then you have all these Docker files, and then you have this whole problem of self-hosted runners don't always work well with Docker, and you can't really run Docker in Docker with. There's no good. I feel like there's too many caveats to every different scenario that people suggest for how to manage the complexity at scale. Because if you're just one person working on your own stuff, this is all fine. But when you've got a team of dozens of developers and you've got dozens of repos and you're trying to do the same level of effort across all of them, where you're doing advanced testing, maybe you're doing staging environment spin-ups, and then you're doing health check, mock, not mock health checks, but actual health check setups on staging infrastructure, and then you're ingesting databases into for mock, for your mock testing, not mock, I keep saying mock, but your actual testing that's not mocked. And then, you would love to actually put in some CD stuff, some deployment stuff in there, and you got some linting, and then now you're going to do AI stuff. Like, we're going to all end up with I feel like hundreds of YAML files per repo. And that very much feels like an unsustainable level. And I think that AI is the only thing that's going to save us. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, that's why I'm so interested in this AI, because I think as we add more and more AI development to our life cycle, we're going to need the AI in all the other places. In fact, there's a really great talk from a year ago at the Snowflake conference from Andrew, I'm not sure how you say his last name, NG, I believe is his last name. And he talks about that he predicted that last year was going to be the year of agents, and that the next big problem was going to be the lack of AI in DevOps. Because if all the developers are shipping more code and more commits, we're going to need DevOps and CI to go faster. But we're not using AI there yet. So it's going to be a bottleneck. He predicted it. And that's exactly what's happened. So I don't have any CI stuff. Well, the only thing I have related to CI in any course today is I have a couple of GitHub Actions sections in the Docker Mastery course on Udemy. But they do not focus on test containers. Because if you haven't noticed, I don't lean in to code specifically. Like, I guess what I mean is testing frameworks are language specific, framework specific, and I don't get into that stuff, because I look at that as more of the developer's job, and I'm sort of the person that they're handing off to. And test containers is not something that I have ever invested time in. I mean, Docker bought them, yay, but I have not been one to pick up that tool because I'm not the one designing all the tests for the code. So I typically am waiting for the developers to tell me what their harnesses are and their testing frameworks are. And then I just try to figure out, my job, I feel like, as like the DevOps or build engineer, is to take their recipes and make them go fast. Because usually once I get a project, it's like the tests are not fast, and we need to parallelize them. We need to spread them out horizontally. We need the CI to only be as slow as the single slowest test. And if that means I need to spin up 100 runners in order to split out all the tests, then that's what I got to design using, GitHub Action Matrix and other tech tools and features in there. So I don't look at myself as the person who's going to teach people testing frameworks. That may change depending on how all this AI stuff shapes out. But yeah, I don't have anything like that. It's a good question, though. Yeah, I haven't looked at how big the storm is, but yeah, it's gonna be a nice storm. All right. So if you haven't been on my show with me recently, one of the things that GitHub Next, which is the forward-thinking, long-term, big research brains, they have been putting out content for the last 6 months around these agentic workflows. And one of the exciting things is they've created a new construct, or basically a new wrapper around GitHub Actions, so that you can basically create a prompt. The prompt will create the workflow and then run it, so that you don't have to make the workflow. And there's a couple of things they're talking about, and it's a little bit meta. So the first thing they did is they announced this. I'm just going to post these links in chat for you all. I recommend you all read these later because, you know, GitHub arguably runs the largest CI platform in the world, and they, we don't get to necessarily see all the analytics that they do because the analytics part of GitHub Actions is pretty lacking, but they can see where the inefficiencies are and where AI might help with things. But there's a lot of risk, not just with any AI involved with anything other than local development. There's a lot of risk involved. We've got prompt injection, we've got MCP, data exfil issues, we've got all sorts of security concerns, and especially on public repos when you start to consider putting AI in your automation. So I have been hesitant to try to figure all this out myself because I feel like there's too many sharp edges. So I've been anxious to watch the researchers and the people that are really seeing the bleeding edge stuff to come out with conceptual ideas around how this is going to happen. Like, how are we going to exactly put AI in our CI? And their first foray into this was about 6 or 8 months ago. And this was the continuous AI. And this is not software. This is concepts. And they coined the term continuous AI as the third acronym we can now put into our little acronym soup of CI, CD, CAI. They don't say that in this, but that's how I'm perceiving this. Is we have our traditional CI, deterministic. We have our traditional CD for continuous deployment, and now we're injecting AI in, and we could call that CAI or whatever you want to call it. So then around the time of GitHub Universe in October, November, actually this was an August post, I believe. I think there's a date somewhere, but they started talking about agentic workflows and exactly what areas people are finding success in throwing AIs into their workflows. And then they started to show this idea around what if we created this idea of a special, it doesn't look like a regular YAML workflow because it's actually a markdown file that has YAML front matter. I don't know if you've ever used a static blogging site, you probably are familiar with YAML front matter inside of Markdown. But that's what this file is an example of putting this front matter. And you'll notice at the top, this all looks like, that looks like GitHub Actions workflow YAML. And then you have some new stuff. And then you have Markdown. And the idea here is that I can give, this is the instructions, this is the prompt I'm giving to the LLM. And I'm giving it access to certain tools. And then I'm defining some outputs so that I can be safe and secure, because the way that they approach any AI is they want to run in a container, so it's isolated. So there's a lot of security controls that they're adding in, which is great, because I was getting quite concerned that we were all going to just like throw security out the window and that this was going to be crazy town, because there have been a lot over the last 6 months. There's been lots of exposure notifications around how you could exploit AI in GitHub. All right, so there's that. 1 second. All right, so then they started actually shipping code, or at least making us aware of other people's code. So the next thing that happened is, all right, so this is the agentic workflows thing. And we could do this right now. And then this, this repo was kind of like a follow-on to that. And this one is listing successful AI workflow concepts. And they've even created this tool that integrates with the GitHub command line tool to help you, automate putting this stuff in. So I'm going to see how fast I can do this. And so the repo we're going to work on today is I have a first action. No, I don't want that. I want. All right. So this is just a sample repo I have. It has some Go code in it. Yeah. Docker Compose up now includes AI agents. Yeah, you can define the model. Excuse me. Oh, I'm yawning today. I need to get a nap in, it looks like. It's not, I don't know. I am actually finding that I'm not using AI, and the Docker AI stuff was neat, but I'm not really using it day to day. And I think that's largely because it's not really kept up with all the other tooling out there. And we have so many tools that, and I have access to the premier models, like to the frontier models. So I don't as much. It's neat to run things locally, but I'm not really able, even on a brand new Mac M4 16-inch beast, I'm not able to run the local models in a way that's satisfactory for any real work. So I've kind of taken a break from all the AI stuff in Compose and Docker Desktop, even though it's there and it's cool that they did it. I'm just not finding it incredibly useful day to day, but that may change. That may change. All right, so this repo is a template repo, and I'm going to create a new one. And I'm going to use upgraded Fortnite. Yeah, so I'm going to use their, I only need this one branch. I'm going to use their name. I wonder what that app is. Docker for GitHub Copilot. I can't turn it off. Okay. Sounds good. Jumpstart your project with Copilot. Oh, that's cool. That's a neat feature. I've not seen that. All right, so I'm cloning a repo, or I'm forking a repo of my own. I'm going to throw superlinter in there because I know it will fail. There will be something in here. So the way we do that is we just jump over to superlinter and let's see. Yeah, that works. I'm going to create a new. I'm doing all this in the browser. So actually, I can go to Actions. I can do this a little bit easier. Go to Actions, say New Workflow, set it up myself, paste in, call it superlinter. For this, I'm not going to do it on push. I'm only going to do it on pull request. Oops. Yep, and we're using a token. All right. Commit. And we're going to create a new branch for this commit and start a pull request. Okay. Now the point of this is I need a workflow to fail in my PR. And this is like every team I walk into that's hired me, because people don't hire me when everything's perfect. People hire me because things need help. So when I show up, typically there's all these failed checks that people just ignore because there's no one that has the time or make the company won't make the time to work on the toil, on the backlog, on the smells of DevOps. We've got, instead of code smells, we've got DevOps smells. And so this is going to probably lint, and I would like to think that I've run a linter on this demo, but I'm sure there's something that's going to find wrong, and I don't want to have to manually fix it. Now, mini linters, especially if they're just formatting, mini linters will just say, I can fix for you and commit. But I don't want that. I don't want that. The coffee's not working today. I don't want that. I want the AI to see this and then suggest a fix with a PR to this branch. Okay, so it's technically a PR to my PR. That's what I want. What do I think about agentic AI agents guiding for troubleshooting? I think that that's great. What do you use one? Tell me what you like. Tell me what you've tried. It seems that right now there's probably 50 different companies trying to build agents that troubleshoot some aspect of DevOps or infrastructure or SRE or platform engineering. So we're definitely going to have solutions. It's just a question of which one's going to win, which one are we all going to stick with? All right, so I've got Copilot already doing its thing in here, making suggestions. All right, so here we go. Yep, failed checks. Failed checks. Oh, so bad. Okay, so I want those checks not necessarily to be committed to in this branch, because presumably I'm not staring at this, right? I just pushed code. I'll come back to that code later, but I'm still working locally on my code. Let's just pretend I'm doing that. So now what I need to do is I need to, let's see, I think I'm going to need to add a new workflow to this PR. So we're in branch Bret Fisher patch 1. So if I go here to this branch and going to create a new file, and we're going to call this lint fixer. Not sure what to call it yet. We're going to call it lint fixer. So over in, let's see, let's jump over to, no, that's not what I want. They've got some examples here in the Agentics repo. It's interesting. This link takes me to a different repo. Okay, no, that's just that. That's the other repo. Okay. Issue triage. Triage issues and pull requests. Nope. CI doctor. Kind of. PR fix. Analyze failing CI checks and implement fixes for pull requests. That sounds like a good one. All right. The PR fix workflow is an alias workflow at PR fix that will help you fix and complete pull requests. By default, it will analyze failing CI checks and pull requests, identify root causes, and implement fixes to resolve issues and get PRs back in a passing state. You can trigger the workflow in default mode or by writing a comment. All right, so So what they've done with this repo is that they're using an extension in the GitHub CLI to help basically just it'll create the YAML file for you, which I mean that's cute, but I think I can copy and paste. So it would sure be nice if they just showed me what it was going to do. So let's just humor them for a second, and we're going to jump over to a shell. And I'm going to have to clone this repo. One second. I'll show you my screen in a second. Got to get that repo name. What was that repo name? Upgraded Fortnite. And then I'm going to check out that branch. And let's see if this works. Yeah. Okay. So what we want here is, I got to go back to the instructions. All right, so I don't have that extension installed, so I'm going to install that first. Okay, and then add the PR fix workflow to your repository. What could go wrong? Oh, it's trying to make like a commit. It wants me to authorize commit. All right. Authorize. Pull request. Oh, it's created a new pull request. Okay. Well, not really what I wanted, but let's, oops. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to create it here. Four files. Okay. So there's something to it then. All right. So it's going to implement an agentic workflow like we saw earlier. So the description, we have a description. This workflow makes fixes to pull requests on demand with the PR fix command, analyzes failing CI checks, identifies root causes, runs tests, and formatters. Roles, I'm not sure what that does. On slash command, on reaction eyes, stop after 1 month. Network defaults. Permissions read. Read only. Save outputs. All right. Tools, web fetch, bash, 20-minute timeout. Source, that's interesting. PR fix. You're an AI assistant specializing in fixing pull requests with failing CI checks. Oh, and it's got, that's interesting. It's got some handlebars, got some mustaches in there. Read the pull request and the comments, which I had none. So good luck with that. Running necessary. Okay, so it's giving it like a skill. Why is it also adding super linter in here? That seems weird. Oh, maybe. No, it's to main. It's doing it. It's doing it to main. Huh. All right. So what I wanted it to do is not go on a slash command, but to go based on a failed check. What's the failed check event? GitHub Actions failed check event. Yeah, thanks, Kyle. The flow of getting a PR into my PR rather than a commit in my PR branch that will then probably frustrate me later with a merge conflict. You know, every time I try to push and it says your branch is not up to date, an AI dies. I don't know. I mean, it's like that is a frustrating thing. Let's see, GitHub action, trigger job. Events that trigger workflows. All right. Check run. Last commit on default branch. Oh, thank you. I got my throat coat tea, hand delivered. All right, now I have coffee, water, and throat tea for when my throat gets sore. I'm definitely going to stay hydrated. I've never actually used this all these years, and I've never had something react to a failed. I've never had a workflow start when another one fails a check. I don't know how I never ended up ever. I don't recall ever using this, so I've got to read it real quick. If the checks runs check suite was recreated. Runs your workflow when activity related to a check run occurs. A check run is an individual test that is part of a check suite. Hmm. Do I need to ask AI about this? Yeah, I'm reading the docs. It was not terribly exciting. Sorry. But I'll put them on screen. I'm reading the docs for the check run, which I thought AI was telling me. Let's ask. In GitHub Actions, I would like a workflow to run when fix it. With the exact event, my fix it work
Let's see if you got something opus. Bring your best. Um, Workflow run. Oh, and I can specify a specific workflow and types completed. Okay, okay. So it runs every time, but if workflow run conclusion is failure, really? Triggers another workflow completes, not check run or check. Uh, Action required. That sounds like one I also need to. The workflow name and workflows must match exactly what's the name field of your CI workflow, not the file name. That's unfortunate that it uses the name text field for matching. That it feels like it should use the YAML key name rather than the friendly name, but always run on the default branch by default. If you need it to run in the context of a PR's branch, you need to put that info from always runs on the default branch by default. If you need it to run in the context of a PR's branch, you'll need to pull that info and check out accordingly. Sorry that you have to watch me type to AI. That's riveting streaming right there. Me talking to AI. Um, all right, this is a little better. Oh, geez. Okay. Now we're into something. All right. So if it's a failure, check out that specific branch, get the PR number. Okay. So we have a potential workflow there. Um, like I want that. But instead, they're using this agentic workflow, which I don't. This is the challenge of these agentic workflows is that I don't know I don't know the format as well in terms of what all these options are in the YAML front matter, and like a lot of this is like the first half of this is deterministic, the second half is agentic. That's the real challenge with a lot of these. Is they're going to end up being hybrid because you're not going to want every step to literally be up to the mood of an AI that changes its mind today because they adjusted the model in the background and now it's doing something different. So we want as much of it as possible to be predictable. We really don't want it to do the checkout and figure out which branch and which PR to use. We'd rather not have that agentic. We'd rather that is a deterministic thing. We just copy and pasted that from Claude. So what I thought I wanted, and maybe this is not what I want, but what I thought I wanted was that part was going to be predictable. Once it's checked out the code on the runner, then I can use an LLM prompt to convince it to do this agentic workflow stuff by fixing and then submitting a PR back to that particular PR. Um, the way that this demo has it running is that you never create the actual YAML workflow. You only create this. I can't remember. what the doc file what this lock file is for. They explain it in the repo why they have this lock file. It's a big one. Oh, okay. Looky. This looks like this is how they're running the AI job. Yeah, let's go read up on that on the log file. They talked about it here. It's not there. Oh my goodness. Where did I read about this? It wasn't. How they work. You create a markdown file with your automation instructions in natural language. You compile, you run ghaw compile to transform it into a secure GitHub Actions workflow, which is a lock.yaml. And then GitHub Actions executes your workflow automatically based on your triggers. Yeah, the security built-in stuff here was something that I was very interested in. Workflows run with read-only permissions by default. Write operations require explicit approval through sanitized safe outputs, which are pre-approved GitHub operations with sandboxed execution, tool allow listing, and I've never seen allow listing be one word. Allow listing and network isolation, ensuring AI agents operate safely with controlled boundaries. So I wouldn't be surprised if the AI didn't even have browser access or web access by default. So so that log file is maybe generated. It's a compiled file, which means that I shouldn't be looking at it, but I can't help myself. It's a lot. So that's what's actually being run. Because GitHub Actions doesn't run a markdown file. So that's kind of wild now that I think about it. I'm curious as to why it's called a lock. Like lock may imply just that a human shouldn't edit it, only let the script compilation edit it. But why would we call it lock? Lock to me makes me think of package managers and lock files and package managers. But maybe that's not the intent. Maybe the lock just means it's output. It's not to be edited. Yeah, I mean, do not edit is the first line. So I'm going to assume that's why they chose the lock file configuration. But I'm not sure that that's what I want. Like if I go to this file, I mean, is it as simple as, I wonder if this is what's happening. So I write this file and then I have to run that command myself. And that command uses AI to create a giant YAML file. And I commit both, but if I edit this file, this markdown file, then I have to go back and rerun it with the GitHub command line so that it generates the log file and then recommit that log file. Like, that's not, like, I actually thought that this idea of theirs was I commit the markdown and every time I edit the markdown, it just automatically does it on the server. But now that I'm thinking about it, this changes it to this changes it so that they basically they didn't have to do anything on the back end. This is a client side implementation with YAML output. By the way, I'm speculating about this, so I could be wrong. But get attributes, language generated true merge R's. I am not a get attributes expert. I don't know what those imply. All right, so this is probably going to commit. This is 2. So let's we're going to go down this we're going to down this rabbit hole. We're going to do it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out that new branch that it just created. Oh. Um, And what's this branch called? Add workflow add workflow workflows. PR fix. Oh, right, and it made it locally and then pushed it, so I already have it locally. All right, so we're going to edit that YAML. This workflow makes fixes to pull requests on demand by the PR fix command. Analyzes failing CI checks, identifies root cause from error logs, implements fixes, run tests and formatters, and pushes corrections to the PR branch. No, I'm going to say and pushes and creates a new PR with any corrections that targets this branch. All right, so we're going to see if that works. Creates a new PR with any corrections that targets with any corrections. Maybe I should say do not create a commit on the original do not create a commit on the original branch then commit, push, and create a PR to the original branch. Provides detailed comments explaining changes made. Helps rapidly resolve PR blockers and keeps development flowing. Okay. I'm not going to change anything else. Oh, shoot. I wasn't changing the prompt. That was the description. Oh, this is the prompt. Okay. You are an AI assistant specializing in fixing pull requests with failing CI checks. Your job is to analyze the failure logs, identify the root cause of the failure, and push a fix to the pull request branch. No. identify the root cause and create a new branch to push a fix to the pull request branch. All right. And create a new branch to push a fix to. Then create a pull request that targets the original pull request. And then, okay, so that in the repository. All right, so then create a pull request that targets a new pull request that targets the original pull request in the repository. Check out the branch for pull request and set up the development environment as needed. Formulate a plan to follow the instructions. This may involve modifying, implement changes needed to follow the instructions. Run any necessary tests or checks to verify that your fix allow. Run any code formatters. If you're confident you've made progress. If you're confident you've made progress. Okay, so this is where I can say. Create a new branch for your changes. A new branch for your changes. Ugh, what if I don't tell it what to call? I mean, it doesn't tell you. I don't think it tells you what to call the commit message, so it's just going to figure it out. I guess I'm just going to see what happens. Create a new branch for your changes. Push the changes to the new branch, and then create a new pull request that targets the original branch. Add a comment to the pull request summarizing the changes you made for the result. Okay. So now, so I've edited that. Okay, I've edited that. And then where's the command? Oh, we were doing PR fix. Yeah. Oh. Well, that's not really the command, is it? Installation. Mandatory check report GitHub actions will not trigger on commits pushed to the workflow and will not tell you that CI is not made. Oh, after editing, run GHRW compile to update the workflow and commit all changes to the default branch. Oh, it's saying that AW, not RW, AW. Oh, okay. So it's already pushed. All right. So back over here. Let's go look. Ooh, quick restroom break. I just realized I've been on here for 2 hours. Be right back. right. So what was that about? Oh, was Copilot making comments? Copilots. Commits. Okay, so there's second commit. All right, so where are we? We just 32 minutes, 40 minutes? I'm very confused by this. Add workflows, PR fix, MD 4734. All right, so that's. I'm not excited about this automation. It's kind of a little. This auto compiler thing. It's a little wonky. All right, so I compiled, but there's no new commit. I compiled and pushed. Did it not update the log file? Oh. Untracked files, cat.github. I'll show you what I'm seeing. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So yeah. So I thought when it said everything's updated, it like repushed and did everything. It didn't do that. So we just need to do chain. I'm going to call it chained PRs. PRs. Oh. Okay. Now, here's a theory. What's going to happen? All right. Is it going to. Okay, that's right. So this only runs if it's on main branch, and we haven't accepted the PR, so we're not on the main branch, so things aren't going to run. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to. Oh, right, because it's got more files now. I'm like, why does it have new files? All right. Yeah, this is a little. It's a little wonky. I mean, I'm not. Oh. Okay. See what's happening. Okay, so our PR just kicked off a lint. It's going to fail. Let's see if it happens. Now, their documentation says the agentic workflow won't fire unless it's on the main branch. So since we haven't accepted it to the, we may have to merge this PR and then create another PR that will then fail lint. But we'll see what happens now. Lints aren't fast, and I didn't turn any of them off. All right, has anybody in chat created a RAG system for like creating a knowledge base? That's another project I'm working on. Since we're waiting on GitHub Actions to run, this is tasty. I should hold it up like this. We have GitHub. I don't have GitHub. I have DevOps mugs in the YouTube store, in case you want one. It started out as a tattoo. I didn't get the tattoo. I just got the mug, but I was tempted. I was tempted to get the DevOps tattoo. All right. So while that's still running,
Let's keep going. Let's go over here. Oh, looks like it's starting to fail. This is another project I've been working on. And I'm using OpenCode for this one. This is a vibe coded project so far. So I'm wanting to build, for my courses, I'm wanting to build a RAG that students can use to ask questions about all the course material. So the idea would be I'd take all the captions, all the resources, everything that I've collected for the courses, feed it into the knowledge base in a vector store, and then um, have it retrieve the knowledge through an LLM and basically allow students to ask questions and they get back. Um, there's phases. I have 3 phases to this plan. The first phase is just conceptual, but by the end of the third phase, it will actually link you to the point in the video you should watch. And Udemy does a little bit of this. Udemy has this type of system built in, but my self-hosted stuff does not. So I was curious because there is on DigitalOcean, they have a platform for doing this. I'm saying DigitalOcean because I have credits there. I mean, I'm sure the other clouds all have something much more advanced, but they have Gradient. And yeah. Well, that's not a good sign. um, so what's interesting is, I don't know how to set it up. So as a part of this, this is Opus 4.5 in OpenCode, and it's figuring out that certain parts of this I have to do manually because the DigitalOcean CTL or the DigitalOcean command line tool doesn't have the ability to do some of these things. So I can't spin all this stuff up. So it's giving me like manual commands to do. And then the commands it gave me didn't work because they didn't exist because it was hallucinating. And then it was like, oh, yeah, those commands don't exist. But yeah, see, it's saying I have to, spaces is like S3. File uploads can use the S3 command since they have a S3 compatible storage. Change from now checks for this, uses this, add configure. So this is just something I'm vibe coding on the side for now. It's not something that I'm spending a lot of time on, but that is something I hope to be in the courses. And as a part of purchasing it from me, you get access to that AI. I'm not sure how I'm going to gate it. Like I got to figure out how to link it into the system that you log into. So I'm not really looking forward to that part because auth and OAuth is never fun. So, all right, let's go back over what happened. All right, we definitely got failures. That's perfect. That's what we wanted. So it did not run, and I gave it a minute, but it did not run. Well, actually, it wouldn't run. Would I see it run in here? Let's go look. So this is, oh yeah. I'm very confused. These are all from a while ago, and it couldn't run. This workflow is awaiting approval. Let's do it. I'm guessing. Okay, it didn't go. I'm just gonna accept this PR, and then we're gonna.
Okay. So now that the PR is accepted. Oh, it closed. I don't know what's going on in my own app. Okay. So now we need to edit something. So let's just edit the README. What did you, Ty Rash, what did you create lately? What did you do with RAG? Tell me about it. Bonus. We've added agentic workflows to help automate PR failures fixes. All right, so commit change. I'm going to do it on a new branch and start a pull request. Now, in theory, the lint should run, the linters will fail, the agentic workflow should run. And if it followed my prompt, it will create. I feel like there's about a 2% chance this is going to work. And then it's going to create another PR that points to this PR's branch to fix whatever checks failed. By the way, if you want to look at this agentic workflow sample, the PR fix, I will put it in chat. Oh, did I tell it? No, I don't think we added the auto run stuff. Well, I guess there's two real problems with this, two augments, right? The first, we could just take this as is, but what we want is I don't want to have to manually go in and comment and tell it, hey, a check failed. Please go fix it. I just want it to detect that a check fails. And then second is I want it to create a new PR, a new branch and a new PR, not reuse the current one. So I guess we'll focus on that second part first, and since I've already wrote it, and then we will go back to we have that. I'm gonna we're gonna leave that one open. Ooh, ooh, oh, skipped. It's skipped. Why is it skipped? I know the job was skipped. Why was the job skipped? Needs pre-activation. What's the first job? Pre-activation. Yeah, pre-activation is the first one. So it's funny. It's not. I guess it's not doing. It's not doing them in order. There we go. If, oh, ooh, woo, that's an if statement. That right there is why YAML is not a great programming language. if it's an issue and GitHub event issue body PR fix and okay, so it's an issue comment and the comment says PR fix and it's not a pull request, or it's an issue comment and it is a pull request and it has the body of a PR fix. Oh boy. So it's determining, it looks like it's all not running because I don't have PR fix in there. Okay, that makes sense because the first half we haven't worked on yet. So why am I having all right. So lints failed. By the way, I'm going to I want to tell it to turn off Copilot. I don't know how. I know it's somewhere. I've seen it. I don't have it memorized where it's located. I don't need Copilot to look at all this stuff. It's just in the way for right now. All right, so all I just need to do is PR fix. / PR fix. All right, let's do that comment. Maybe it'll work. Okay. See, that's cool that they're like mentioning Copilot to make changes to pull requests. I wish I think that's a unique GitHub feature. I don't think we can do something like, give people like a hint for all the / commands they can put in. There we go. Okay. What's it gonna do? Okay. We're going. It's happening. Things are happening. Pre-activation done. Activation done. Is it gonna make? What's the over/under? Somebody get on Polymarket. Will Bret's first, what are they calling it? Agentic workflow? Error. None of the. Oh, I forgot. I forgot the pat. I forgot. It told me I had to pick my model. Error. None of the following secrets are set. Copilot GitHub token. The GitHub Copilot CLI engine requires either Copilot GitHub token secret to be configured. Please configure one of these secrets in your repository settings. All right. GitHub agentic workflows use AI coding agents or engines to interpret and execute natural language instruction. Each engine has unique capabilities and configuration options. Experimental engines, Claude, and Codex engines are available but marked as experimental. They do not
They are not documented here, but can still be used by setting engine Claude or engine codecs in the working front matter. For production workflows, we recommend using the GitHub Copilot CLI engine. So it's using the Copilot CLI. They say engine, but is that just a Copilot CLI that we all have? Like, is that what it's doing? All right. Is the default and recommended AI coding agent engine. So in other words, they're going to decide which model is used. It's auto. I guess it's auto. And I don't even remember what our... So let's just review. I don't see... It doesn't have anything in here about that. I think it told me in the instructions that I needed to pick an engine and add a key. And yeah. You must also choose a coding agent and add an API key secret for the agent to your repository. You can't start a run of this workflow directly. Okay. All right, so we're just going to have to augment the... All right, so I got to create a new... We are on a branch that has been closed. I'm just going to edit straight on main because I just need to... Oops. There we go. Engine. No. We want the other thing. It's just engine copilot, right? Engine copilot. Yes. Engine copilot. All right, so that's the only thing I need to do in that file. And then I need to go in the repo. Now, where do I get this? Is this a full... Okay, Copilot GitHub token. The GitHub personal access token is a token that authenticates you to GitHub's APIs with Copilot request permission. Oh, GitHub. And there's another one. Authenticating with a PAT. Don't you love watching me read documentation? These were the things that I was hoping to read before. Okay, create a fine-grained PAT. Select your user account, not an organization. Choose public repositories access and enable Copilot requests. Well, it's nice that they walk us through it. All right. Please stand by. Making a PAT. Okay, I've made it the pat. I've made it so well, and it's now a secret. It just has access to that one endpoint. According to the docs, it's just Copilot requests permission on public repositories, and then I have to set it into CLI. Then add it to your. Oh, no. I could have done it from the CLI. Okay, I did a GUI. Danger, legacy tokens remove the Copilot. For GitHub Tools remote mode, also configure this. Assume that I don't need that. The Copilot engine does not have built-in web search support. You can add web search capabilities using third-party MCP servers. Network permissions. The Copilot engine supports network access controlled through agent workflow firewall. That's pretty cool. Agent sandbox. I definitely got to read all that stuff later. Let's go try it. Let's go do it again. Let's go do this again. PR fix. It failed. We're going to rerun. Yes. Yes. Oh, wait. Yes. Is this it? Is this all I got to do is put in a pat? Magic happens? I give it a 20% chance that it will create a separate PR in a different branch. 20% chance. Oh, interesting. Just catching up with chat. We had limited resources to run models with billion parameters, so we decided to go small, tiny model, and we built RAG on top of the tiny model to reduce the level of hallucination and give more context. Perfect. Because to me, all these problems now, like post developer coding CLI, coding agent, beyond that, if we're gonna bring these agents into platform engineering, DevOps, SRE, it's a context problem. Like to me, everything is a context problem now. In fact, I think I read somewhere that 2025 is the year of agents, 2026 will be the year of context. And so I'm partially doing this project, building my own RAG, because I want to understand more. Like I've never done a RAG before, and I want to understand more of this problem because everything is going to be context. Like when I start looking at AnyShift or RunWhen and some of these like SRE platform engineer agents, I think I saw a conference talk where the CEO of RunWhen was saying that basically their whole problem is context and like fitting what is necessary in the context without bloating it with a ton of stuff. Like if you think about it, to develop code, you have a spec. And when you get more advanced, then especially when you're in a team and you have a huge architecture, then you probably need to start giving it documentation for it to make architecture decisions. So the bigger the app, the more context you're going to have to feed it. But when it starts to come to other things post code, like in the software lifecycle, the things in DevOps and platform engineering and operations and troubleshooting and like to me that is all a context problem, but you can't just shove it every single thing you like. Just think about the amount of context you and I have in a given week. How many phone calls, meetings, emails, text, face-to-face conversations by the water cooler, like all these conversations are about work, and they all have something to do probably with the work you're working on, which is probably that big project with the DevOps thing in it. Like those all have to be given to the AI. So are we literally going to walk around where like the AI is already in our Zoom calls and the AI is going to have access to Confluence and wikis and SharePoint or wherever Notion. I mean, I'm a big Notion fan. I love the Notion AI because it gets context right. Like Notion made a gamble that they're the note-taking company, and I use it for all my corporate documentation. And it connects to my Google Docs, my Gmail, my calendar, my Slack, all the Slack channels, because that's where all the context lives. But really what I've been using it for is like an old school, Brendan and I were talking a couple days ago. We were talking about the old school Google desktop back 20 years ago when Google was giving us like Windows XP desktop search, and it was like integrated and it scanned the hard drive. You could, I mean, because we had old spinning hard drives back then, so you could hear it just constantly churning on your hard drive, eating all, reading all the files over and over again. And this reminds me of that era where like Notion allows me to search everything all at once, and then it gives me summaries instead of just like Google search results. Was like, here's the document, go read it. Here's the emails that I found with that person's name. It gives me the summary of all that stuff, so I don't have to go look at anything. I just get a nice, and that to me is money. Like it's worth the money for the Notion AI feature just for that search ability to basically, like, it feels like a digital brain. It finally feels like I have a digital brain that will tell me the answers to things rather than just point me to places that might have the answer, which is what we've always had. Ooh, we're all green. Get off my soapbox. We're green, 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 green. Okay, let's see. Run detail. Run details. Generated prompt. Do not attempt to, okay, I didn't create that. It's creating itself. When generating markdown test, use, is this all prompts? Failed to apply patch, failed to apply patch. I mean, it might be simple. I mean, there's all these issues that could be causing this to be a problem. The agent may not have permissions to create PRs because this workflow, which isn't a workflow I created, but I didn't give it the permissions of. In fact, let's go look at this repo. This repo, if we go down to Copilot. Oh, that's new. Ooh, I didn't even see that. Memory. This repository has no memories, or you have insufficient access. So we don't want Copilot. We actually want Actions, General. Allow GitHub Actions to create and approve pull requests. So if because that wasn't checked, the agent, this is one of the potential problems. There's probably a dozen problems I got to fix. But one of them is even if it had the right instructions, it doesn't have the GitHub token to go and make a PR. By the way, I'm changing the settings because the security settings in here are hot garbage. All right, let's do that. Let's do that. Allow cache. Yep. Okay. Okay. It's weird that it was green. Conclusion. Download. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I would have never been able to do this myself. This is a lot. Back to summary. You got a warning, but the save outputs. Man. I wonder if the docs help. Installation. Okay, so we followed that. GitHub Actions runs will not trigger on commits pushed by this workflow. Right. That's a standard feature in GitHub, unfortunately, is that it doesn't allow cascading loops. So if a GitHub action creates a commit, GitHub Actions will not run on that commit, because then you could just get in an unending loop. And that sucks. It really sucks. I'm trying to think of just the other day, I ran into an action that broke or wasn't working because of that problem. And I don't remember I don't remember what it was. Oh, wait, maybe I do. I don't remember. I think I literally have this problem open in a tab over here. Oh, it's Renovate Bot. It's Renovate Bot that you need a special pat because it can't make it can't make commits from actions. Well, it can't run workflows that were created to kick off with commits that when the commit was created by a previous workflow. All right. I have read the notes on coding tasks in the main README. I have not, but I will say. I understand that by default, the agentic portion of this workflow will generate and run bash commands in the confines of the GitHub Actions VM with network access. I am a repository admin and have sufficient permissions, and I'm happy for the safe outputs portion of this workflow to push new branches to the repository. I have enabled allow GitHub Actions to create. While we're reading this, why aren't we rerunning it? What's wrong with me? We should go back up here and rerun it, even though it was green. Rerun. Okay. I have enabled allow GitHub Actions to create and approve pull requests. I didn't read the documentation. Okay, so yep, check. I have considered enabling always suggest updating pull request branches in the repository segment. Oh. Yeah, I like enabling that feature, but why? Why do I need it? Why does that need to happen? I mean, yeah, I'll go enable it, but does that require? I have considered if in a fork I have enabled GitHub Actions and GitHub Issues in the fork repository settings. Right. Because, yeah, I will review. Yeah, they're not enabled by default if you're in a fork, because they assume it's the prime upstream that is where all that happens. I will review all pull requests very carefully and carefully monitor the repository. I will operate this demonstrator for a time-limited period only. The default is 48 hours. I understand that GitHub Actions runs will not trigger on pull requests created by this work. Right. This is basically, please do not tell us this isn't working. It's not broke. This is an intended safety feature that is always enabled across all GitHub Actions. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Configuration. This workflow requires no configuration. It works out of the box as long as you follow the directions above that you didn't read, Bret. You can use local configuration to specify custom build commands, testing procedures, designating rules. After editing, run to update. Yep. May create issues for complex problems requiring human intervention, requires contents write and pull request write permissions. We don't actually require those because we're trying to get it to make a new PR. A new PR, my understanding, is a different permission, but oh, I saw that line. I didn't know what that meant. Workflow stops automatically after this period to prevent infinite runs. You can re-trigger the workflow by commenting with the alias again if needed. All right. Okay, so we've read at least through there. Now it's failing? It wasn't failing before.
Starting safe outputs MCP HTTP server. Safe outputs MCP server failed to start after 10 seconds. Great. Great. Yeah, this isn't complex at all. This is fine. Everything's fine. Rerun. Let's just rerun all jobs. No, I'm not going to enable debug logging because I'm not sure that's going to help me. Normal logging was sufficient for me to know that it didn't work for random reasons. All right. While that's running, this may have to be one of my last tries. We're streaming for 2.5 hours. Come on, agent. Come on, agent. Come on, agent. You can do it. You can start that MCP. You can do it. You can do it. That's right. Download more shit. That's right. Do a whole bunch of fancy stuff. What could go wrong? I definitely need all this complexity just so that I can fix my lints. This sounds perfect. Yeah, please keep doing that. Keep just dumping logs, downloading all sorts of things. Who knows what you're doing? You're not even to the AI part yet. You're just setting up AI. You're just trying to get to the prompt. Okay, now we see some prompting. Why is it skipping instead of failing and rerunning the failed stage? I'm not sure exactly the question you're asking. Tutorials. Okay, so these are all different jobs, right? And the way that when I looked at the workflow, it looked like each one of the jobs was dependent on a previous job, which I'm not always. I question that design. Because now you're just spinning up a bunch of machines, and then the next machine has to wait on the last machine. So anyway, so it must be set up so that when it gets to that one, to the agent one, if the agent one fails, it stops all of them, but then it does the final one. And I'm assuming the final one is more of a cleanup, which is why I saw the last one green. I'm not sure what the last one does, but I'm assuming it because there's so many jobs, or the last one is some sort of cleanup job. Is that the AI talking, or is that me just dumping into the context? Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Oh, I saw IP tables up there. That's some good stuff. Let's look at this. So agent. So yeah. So is it conclusion? Conclusion hasn't run yet. Is that what? Let me know if that answers your question, tutorials. Not sure. I see. I don't have push permissions. According to the safe outputs context, I need to use the push to pull request branch tool to push changes. Let me use that instead. Excellent. The fix has been pushed to PR number 3. Let me, oh, what's it saying? Now let me add a comment to explain what was fixed. I analyzed the PR number 3 and identified the CI failures. I found the root cause grammatical error in line 7 of README, applied the fix by changing weave agentic workflows to weave added agentic workflows, push the changes directly to the PR branch. This fix addresses the grammar issue that was causing multiple linter failures. The CI checks should now pass when they rerun. Use one premium request. So this is PR fix 8. No, it's only one commit in here. Update README with bonus section on
Did it really push? Hmm. All right, let's go look at branches. Let's go see what branches we got. I got a feeling it didn't. It didn't do anything. It didn't do. It didn't listen to any of the stuff I told it. Um, well, I pushed it main. None of these look like they've had a commit because they're all 35 minutes old. That was the one I hard coded the change for using Copilot. Pull request number 2. So that's pull request number 2. Oh, 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 ooh, 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 ooh. It's working. Oh, that was 35 minutes ago. No, what am I looking at here? Update PR fix number 7. Pull request number 3 created by Copilot. This workflow is awaiting approval from a maintainer in number 3. Go away, Copilot. What is what is this? What is happening? Is it pirate talk? But this is GitHub yeah. See, this is the problem. I've got Copilot talking as a reviewer, and then I've got all right. So I did that. Okay. Did they put in there yo ho ho PR fix found a treasure and complete successfully? I mean, yeah, it's gonna. I feel like I'm lost in a web of this touch that plus this PR and this branch by this entity, and it. I guess the agent is where I go and I can read. I mean, okay, so save outputs. I wonder if that's meant to be the place that I go and look. Process safe outputs. I see some get diffs. Yeah. There is a lot to this. Kind of thought it would be easier. It feels pretty raw. Okay, so it's creating these. Don't know why. Everything is 32 minutes ago. All right. I think I'm going to call it for the stream today.
All right. I'm going to be doing this more of this in the coming weeks as I get focused on the courses, especially if you're not on the newsletter, get on the newsletter. That's Bret.news. Bret.news. That gets you on the newsletter, and then um, you can see my next newsletter that's coming out. AI ruined my 2025 plans, but might save me in 2026. So that'll be the next newsletter that comes out. We've migrated everything: the newsletter, the blog, the website, um, the membership system. We've moved all of that over to a new platform, and we're going to be hosting our courses there. So expect, if you're on the waiting list for the courses, you can just go to bretfisher.com, and this is the newsletter sign up, but right below that's another sign up to get on the waiting list for my first GitHub Actions course. This is not going to be about AI. The first one's going to be the basics. It's meant for beginner and intermediate, so it's going to teach you up all the way through reusable workflows, more advanced production grade setups, and then, as you can see, because I'm still discovering and learning the AI stuff, the AI or the agentic GitHub Actions course will come later. I don't really have a date because we haven't even started recording yet, because I'm still learning all these basics and things with the AI. So as I spend more and more time on that, this will be the first course, this GitHub Actions that you're seeing there. That'll be the first course, and it's going to be focused on practical uses, but also certification. If you're someone who cares about GitHub certifications, Microsoft certifications, they have a GitHub Actions certification. Being that this is the most popular CI in the world, I feel like its certification will become more important. So that's going to be like a bonus feature of the course. And I'm excited. So if you're interested in being early, get on that wait list, and you can always reply to the emails there if you have questions. But I'm looking at that wait list as people that are going to get a good discount, and that I'm going to look for weekly feedback. I'm going to hold office hours so people can take the course, go through the course, and then ask me questions or help give me feedback on what needs to be refined or changed to improve the course as I'm building the rest of it out. So that's what the plan is. You will see, if you're on this wait list, you will see that happen in the next couple of weeks. I've already got a majority of the content scripted out. I just haven't recorded the videos on it, and it's a lot. It's going to go through, like I mentioned, reusables. We're going to talk about templates. We're going to talk about like the .github repo for your organization and how you can set standards there. We're going to go through all of the major features of GitHub Actions that I've used in multiple enterprise consulting gigs that I've used over the last 5 years. All of my lessons learned is coming in, the best practices, the security lockdowns, because I'm very much into the security features of GitHub Actions to make sure that you don't get pwned, that you don't accidentally start running other people's GitHub Actions, which has been happening all year. There's been all sorts of attacks because GitHub is the place to attack source code. So we've had multiple shows here about Shai Hulud and the Singularity, all these different attacks on the NPM infrastructure as well as the GitHub Actions infrastructure. It is now, I think, one of the premier targets in the supply chain for hackers. And so I'm going to make a whole section, if not multiple sections, on sort of a security checklist in there. Anyway, it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited about it. I'm actually was in the middle of this morning of editing another video for it, so I need to get back to that. So thanks for being here. Feel sorry for the next generation of legacy AI DevOps. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we will. AI will get legacy too, and then we'll have to have the AIs fix the AI that's old. Like imagine the new AI fixing the old AI. Is that what we're talking about? All right, people. I will see you next week here on YouTube. I sometimes stream other places, but YouTube's where it's at. And I've got guests coming. I've mentioned a couple of those on the show, but we've got some others that I need to invite. And assuming they say yes, you will be seeing more guests on the show over the next 3 or 4 months than you did the last 6 months, because we've been so busy focused on other things. We didn't have as many guests. But the podcast isn't stopping. The newsletter's not stopping. It's just a little slower than normal. Yeah. See you in Discord, everybody. Discord server's right there. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm on there daily, as well as a lot of other people. So come join us. See you soon. Ciao.